All right, so I have my brother Mark, which happens to be my brother's name. So anyone that is named Mark, I always instantly like, and I'm just like, that's my brother's name. So my brother
Right.
that passed away 30 years ago now. Um, so Mark Mowbray of Ohio in transition to Florida. You were saying Texas was one of, so I was saying before we started recording, uh, the three states it's going to be is Florida, Arizona, or Texas. One of those three states, high on the list for where I'm moving to, each one for different reasons. I would say Arizona is high on the list because my son is considering moving there. So I might have to bring the whole family out that way, out west. We loved Arizona for the hiking. You been out there?
I have never stepped foot in Arizona. My
Oh,
son has. My
it's
son has. He loves it. He tells us, he tells us all the time, Dad, we need to get out to Arizona. But it was on the list at one point, but didn't make the cut.
all right. And then you said Texas was a possibility as the
Yeah,
next police department.
yeah. I mean, Texas has always been one of those places that we've considered for numerous reasons, but yeah, ultimately didn't make the cut either. Texas is a huge
Uh-huh.
place, a lot of opportunities. And it's been described to me as almost like a bunch of different places in one. It just depends where you're at.
Yeah, we visited San Antonio this last summer, just after the heat wave, and it was ridiculously hot. Even though it was after the heat wave, it was incredibly hot. I think the hottest place I've ever been was Vegas, where I was out at nighttime in the summertime. It was like 10 o'clock at night, so it was dark out, and you could feel the heat coming off of the concrete like you were in an oven. And
Oh
I had
yeah,
never experienced heat like that in my life.
the bottoms of your shoes are melting.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
almost that bad. Yeah,
Soles are melting.
you were in the military?
Yeah, yeah. I was in the military,
What branch?
so I did my first contract in the Marine Corps, and then that's when I reenlisted into I switched over to the Army after that.
Okay.
I did another 3 years with them.
All right. Thank you for your sacrifice. Many, many sacrifices.
Hey, brother, it's my pleasure. Yeah, it's my
Uh,
pleasure.
one of one of my one of my brothers, Atlas, who did a TED talk, he said he would prefer people to say thank you for your sacrifice than because thank you for your service has almost become like a platitude where it's just one of those things that people just say and it's starting to lose its meaning. But I genuinely mean it because when the recruiter asked me if I wanted to go into the service, I said, "Well, I want to be able to leave when I want to leave." And they're like, "Oh no, you can't leave." And I was
Doesn't
like,
quite that way. Yeah.
"Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think the service for me." So I respect anyone that has served and I appreciate it and I genuinely do mean it when I say thank you for service, but also thank you for your sacrifice, time away from your family. Um, then how many years on the job,
So
PD?
I've been with the state now for coming up on 10 years.
10
Uh,
years.
yeah. So I want to I kind of want to pause you there for a minute. You said you wanted to, one of the requirements was you wanted to feel like you could leave whenever you wanted to. I got to tell you this story. Um, so it's probably like it's at least the first week of boot camp, Paris Island, July. It's extremely hot. You know what I mean? Like heat melting the soles off your boots, kind of hot.
Uh-huh.
We're out on the parade deck, we're marching, or we're drilling, we're doing our thing as far as that goes, and we go to the porta johns. So two of us go into the porta johns at a time, and I won't say the name, but the guy that I'm in there with, he looks at me with the most panicked look on his face, and he says, "Are we allowed to leave?" Just like that. I mean, and let me tell you something. This is a big. I mean, this is a brute. You know what I mean? He was a bouncer in New York. I mean, he's put together like, uh, but he's a pretty boy. He's a model. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, he just couldn't take the heat. He looked at me, and I'll never forget the look on his face. And he said, "Are we allowed to leave?"
Nope.
I said, "Brother, I don't think that's how that works."
Nope, nope. You sign a contract and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. But not everybody realizes that, and I'm not sure that recruiters tell people that. Didn't dawn on me. Of course, it seemed like common sense to me, but a lot of people think that that's the way that works.
No,
If
it's not common knowledge, it's not common sense. And a lot of people don't realize like once you sign that contract, if you break that contract, they will put you in jail.
I can sit here and tell you stories all day long about, I can tell you about another guy that literally tried to swim off of the island. Um, they tell you at Paris Island, the quickest way out of there is to graduate. And that is a fact. 100%, that is a fact.
Or die, or die.
Or die. Yeah. Hopefully not that one, but
Hopefully not.
right.
So 10 years in the state in the state of Ohio. That's incredible, man.
It's
What's
been a
next?
journey.
What's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
Um, I have big plans. I'll put it to you that way. I won't get into the specific details right now because not everything is concrete. Clarity is there. I've got big plans. We'll just say that. But as you mentioned, a transition is underway. We're in the process of a big move right now, so I'm looking forward to that.
Congratulations on that.
Definitely can't see myself walking away from law enforcement. I just can't see myself doing that. I'm passionate about law enforcement. I really enjoy being a first responder, the opportunities, the people we get to meet and engage with, and it really is unlike anything I've ever done in my life. So I can't see myself walking away from that at any point.
Greatest show on earth, right?
Greatest show on earth. Yeah. Not everybody knows about it though.
Not everyone knows. So I tell a lot of people back to the military thing that I would always try to recruit people to the PD. And I would say, it's a really great job. And once you get in the academy, if you feel like you can't hack it, you can always resign. But usually once you're that deep in, most people kind of start to see themselves in the role and they make it through the academy. And then once you get on field training, it's a whole nother world. It's a completely different world then because now you're actually doing the job.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I tell people the same thing, honestly. And, I actually was a district recruiter for my agency for a while. And, one of the things that I would say a lot of times, not really that people lie necessarily, but they're not always truthful or completely forthcoming with, specific details. And when it comes to law enforcement, being a first responder of any type, I mean that is the most important thing. And having recruitment experience in the military, and then doing recruitment with my agency, that was one of the big things to me. Was I will not sugarcoat anything. It's important for young people that are just coming into the profession to understand what exactly they're coming into. So if they can enter the academy with that clarity and understanding of what to expect, it goes a long way. And I think in my experience that if people make it through the academy, generally speaking, they're going to be okay. It's a decision at that point.
So at what point did you go to college at all when you got out of the military, or did you go straight to law enforcement?
So I didn't start pursuing college until my second enlistment. And I did a couple of years utilizing some tuition reimbursement, things like that. I don't have a degree. I don't have a college degree of any type. I could go back and pick one up fairly quickly. I mean, I've got enough credits to get to that point fairly quickly, but it just hasn't been in my cards up to this point. But I'm not going to dismiss it. I'll certainly pursue that.
My agency did not have a college requirement, nor did they have any credit requirement. Um, did your agency have like a certain number of credits that you had to have, or is it just a high school diploma or GED?
Yeah, no, there's no college requirement whatsoever. High school diploma or GED will meet that basic requirement in terms of education.
Yeah,
Now,
same for mine.
yeah. Now I know a lot of academies, as you're going through them, you'll gain educational credits to be applied, to a certain degree, depending on where you go. I know there's some colleges that will accept that credit. My agency is one of those. We gain quite a bit of college credit if you wish to do that. I haven't pursued that. I haven't applied those credits anywhere, but it's in the cards. I don't want to say you wait till the time is right, because the time's never going to be right if you wait on it. But eventually I will sit down and continue pursuing that.
Now, before we started recording, you said you had a buddy that you started to tell a story about the buddy that was telling you about Texas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he knew he was going to be getting out. He was smart. He was smart about it, because he kind of strategically placed himself in Texas, knowing he was going to get out. Not that that's wrong or anything, but he just was smart about it. A lot of people, when they get out, they're like, I just want to get home, back to where it's familiar, where I know. And that's what I did.
Okay.
That's what I did.
You were originally from Ohio?
Originally from Ohio, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I never been to Ohio. It's not that long of a drive from New York. I think it's like 13 hours.
Yeah, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, I'd probably fly though. I don't like being in the car that long. Now when you get down to Florida, are you driving, or are you flying the family?
No, we're gonna drive. Yeah, we're gonna
Ooh,
drive. It's gonna be a move. It's gonna be a convoy almost.
how many hours of a drive is that?
It's about 13 and a half, 14 hours. But
Okay.
we've got some little ones too, so there'll be some stops along the way. Of course, to drag it out a little bit. But that's all
Yeah,
been,
so
so it's in the books.
are you planning on like maybe staying at a hotel one night, or are you just gonna try and do all one day?
Now, yeah, our plan is to just do it all in one day and get it out of the way. Foot
Ooh,
foot on foot on the gas. That's how we do it.
that's gonna be a long day. I drove from New York to Topsail Island, North Carolina, that area, like Wilmington. And
Wow.
that was a 14-hour. The longest part was getting through DC and Virginia, because Virginia, you're just driving through Virginia forever.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know which roads, like what states are you going to be going through?
So you got West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina,
So
Georgia.
you have to go east and then south. There's no diagonal cutting across, right?
Yeah, generally, yeah, you're gonna go east and then south. So then, yeah, South Carolina, Georgia, and then that's Florida.
Yeah, so the Virginias, you're probably gonna feel like you're just driving there forever.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, yeah,
Have you taken family trips before?
we go down there. I mean, almost every year. So we're pretty familiar with the drive itself,
Okay.
the location. We're pretty familiar with. So this has been in the making for quite some time.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I'm really happy for you.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
So now, in your time in uniform and in patrol, what's the craziest thing that you can remember ever like getting called to, or like coming across?
It's it seems bizarre, it seems wild to say this, but there's just so many bizarre incidents that we find ourselves in. Um, one story that I love to tell, though, whenever people ask me about, pursuits are so common. We get in vehicle pursuits all the time, and a lot of times they turn into foot pursuits.
Yep.
So common, as you know. But one of my favorite pursuit stories is I had just signed on. So I'm working night shift. I had just signed on, and I'm probably about 30 minutes out of my driveway. So the office is about an hour away. So I'm about 30 minutes out of my driveway, and I hear on the radio that the neighboring county that I work in is in pursuit with a vehicle. That vehicle is coming toward the county that I work in. So clearly, I'm going to be aware of that, and I'm going to start kind of moving that way. So, which is what I did. But I'm still a good 45 minutes out or so from even where they're at this time. and it's the middle of a winter storm. I mean, I think it's like mid-November. I mean, so it's icy and it's snowy and, everything else. So in my mind, I was thinking, I'm not, surely this is going to come to some kind of end, some conclusion before I even get remotely close. But we always continue that way because you never know what's going to happen. So being 45 minutes out when this call is dispatched, believe it or not, I was the first person to make contact with this vehicle. As wild as that sounds, I just monitoring the radio traffic the whole time. I know where it's going. I know, okay, I need to go this way. I need to go this way. There was probably 7 or 8 cruisers behind this vehicle. The suspect vehicle had rammed several cruisers. I mean, he was out trying to hurt us, definitely trying to get away, but also trying to hurt us. We had spike stripped the car several times. I had known this, but the car had continued driving. So I thought maybe he's got like no spike tires or something like that. Long story short, I get to the point to where I'm coming up over this hill and all I see is this large blue, whatever you want to call it. It's nothing but police lights.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking like, where's the suspect vehicle? Because they're coming up over this hill. All I see is blue lights. Once we get to the peak of the hill, I see the suspect vehicle coming directly at me. I mean, we're coming head on. So I start to slow down and I notice he's kind of like driving sideways, which is strange. Like he's coming straight forward, but he's doing it at an angle.
Yep.
It was kind of weird, honestly. But so I remember thinking to myself, like, this is strange. So, I backed up, kind of tried to get in a little better position, and he continues coming at me. Well, then he comes to a stop. So I'm in a position at that point where I have cover, concealment. I felt comfortable enough. At that point, exit my patrol car, start giving him commands, things like that. Well, remember, there's 7 or 8 patrol cars behind this thing. So I'm on one side giving commands, things like that. They're all on the other side. So at this point, we're looking at potential crossfire and things of that nature. So the decision was made to just go ahead and approach the vehicle. But what was funny about it, the reason he was coming at an angle was because the rear tire, it was the driver's side rear tire, was completely gone. The axle was broke off and everything.
Uh-huh.
He had no traction whatsoever. And all you hear is the engine revving and he's in the car screaming. And it was almost like something you would see on a movie, being 45 minutes out when I got dispatched to being the first person to make contact was pretty wild. Honestly, it was, like I said, that's probably my favorite pursuit video to talk about.
Now, how about favorite arrest? Do you have a favorite arrest of a bad guy that you made, or
favorite arrest? From a criminal standpoint, I really do enjoy getting bad guys off the street. So anytime that's the case, I mean that's up there on the top of my list. OVI, is a very serious thing.
what does that OVI stand for?
OVI, it's the operating vehicle under the influence.
Ah, okay.
I don't know. You guys call it something different there?
Just DUI or DWI. Yeah, driving while.
Yeah, same
yeah,
thing. Yeah. You might hear it referred to like as OMVI, operating motor vehicle impaired, something like that. But we generally call it OVI. It's very serious. It's dangerous. Obviously, it's nothing to take lightly. So we target that quite a bit. OVI enforcement, things of that nature. But let me tell you something. In a situation where nobody's hurt, everybody's okay, and you can really kind of soak in. When you have somebody that's 2-3 times the legal limit, I mean, it can make for kind of a
some hilarious situations.
There's definitely some hilarious situations that come out of that. I mean, I've had people obviously urinate on themselves. They're vomiting everywhere. They're just stumbling, falling down. I mean, things of that nature.
I worked midnights also for 6 years of the overnights. And one of the funniest ones that I remember was a guy that barely spoke English. It was a large Polish population, and the guy barely spoke English, but everyone can picture a ramp where it's like a clover leaf and you start to drive around it. We were
Yeah.
driving around, we were on patrol driving around the clover leaf, and we come across a car that's perpendicular to the clover leaf. So he's across the street. We put our lights on, we exit the vehicle, we approach, and he has his seat tilted back, and he decided that that was a good place to take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy was bombed. He was bombed. And to this day, I think about where he was parked, and I thank God that it was us that
Yeah.
found him first before someone else found him, or smashed into him. But he
Yeah.
he thought it was a good idea to like park there. He thought that that was a parking lot. He was perpendicular across the street, and had his seat back, and he's like, "Hey, what's the problem? I'm just taking a little nap."
Yeah. Problem. Like I'm not doing anything wrong.
The problem
Yeah.
is you parked in the worst. And then I had another one where it was a young lady that worked at I guess you would call it a gentleman's club. And when I approached the vehicle, I basically had to tell her that she needed to throw a sweater on because
Oh yeah.
because I was like, hey, this is not professional. This is not cool. And you're not getting a break.
Yeah. I think if you do this job long enough, you'll find yourself in a situation like that for sure. I know
Yeah.
I've been several times. Uh, are you still there? What was that?
So I it said my internet connection was bad, but I don't know because I had full signal. But anyway, it's still recording.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't lose. Like it still said recording, but obviously I didn't see the picture on there, so I didn't know.
I have my guy cut that little part out.
I'll tell you, I had so when I worked in the prison, um, there was an inmate, there was a guy in there. He wasn't a bad inmate or anything like that. He didn't really cause any trouble, but I mean, he was always in some kind of silly like nonsense, always
Yep.
associated something silly, off the wall. Um, but I had just gotten promoted, and I had the opportunity to see him out of the prison on his last day, and that was a little while before I had left to go on patrol. Um, I don't know, maybe we'll say maybe a year or so after I'm out on the road and things like that, I get called to a disabled vehicle on the interstate. I get there, and so the vehicle's going southbound. Traffic's heavy, and it's off in the median. It's another one of those situations where it's ice and snow, and um, I saw him. He's standing in the median, so I went ahead and pulled off on the northbound side, and I walked down in the median, and I approached the guy, and I look at him, and instantly I'm like, yep, that's him. I knew exactly who it was. Reeks of marijuana. He's got warrants, no driver's license, obviously, but the most strange part was how he got to where he was. It made zero sense. I don't understand how he got turned around the way he did. He said his tire blew out on the car, and so he was trying to change the tire, but he obviously couldn't get a jack under it or anything like that because he's in the mud. He's bogged down. He doesn't have. I mean, there's nothing you can do except hook a tow truck to it, and pull it out. But anyway, I'm looking at him, and I said, "Hey, I knew all the answers already, but I said, hey, do you have a driver's license on you?" He says no, and I said, okay, you have an ID on you? He's like, no, I don't have an ID. So I went ahead and identified him by other means. That's when I found out he had warrants and things like that. Of course, I knew who he was, but that was. And then obviously he remembered who I was.
Did he go easy because he knew who you were?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. Did you mean did he go easy?
Did he go easy, or did he kind of give you a hard time about it?
So that's the thing. I've never had anybody necessarily give me a hard time in terms of inmates or anybody like that that I had dealt with. Just because there was that mutual understanding, I had respect in there. Just because I believe that you treat people like people, regardless of convictions and things like that. So I never really had any issues with anybody. He didn't give me no trouble. I mean, he knew
Good.
what it was. He was always the kind of guy that would tell you that this is a cat and mouse game. I'm a criminal. You're a cop. My job's to run from you. When I'm caught, I'm caught. It's kind of one of those things. So he didn't give me any trouble, but he definitely tried to like talk me out of it. He thought that he had that kind of relationship where he could try to talk me out of it, but found out that wasn't the case.
I remember the first time we spoke, you were saying when you worked inside the prison, everyone there, that they committed some sort of a crime. When you're out in the street, you have no idea who you're walking up to.
Right. That's a fact. Yeah. Yep. That's absolutely a fact. Regardless of, what it was, whatever crime they committed. I mean, somewhere along the line, they were convicted of that crime and a judge sentenced them to go to prison. That much. And kind of gives you, I don't want to say it gives you a better understanding, but at that point, that these guys, these men and women that are incarcerated are on some level, criminals on some level.
No, so I only got about 5 more minutes before we gotta hop on another call. Um, I wanted you to give advice for the rookie, advice for the person that is halfway there, 10 to 15 year mark, and then
Okay.
advice for the people that may be thinking about their next career. So
Okay.
advice for the rookie, what's your best advice for the brand new? We kind of touched on it before.
So, that's why I like coaching and mentoring and things like that. Cause I can kind of help these people, learn and, you know, learn from my mistakes, so to speak. If I had to give somebody advice, it'd be, don't let your ego get too big too fast.
So
Don't,
this is the man or woman with 1 year on the job.
right. Yeah. You're starting to feel a little comfortable now because you've got a year on. You're starting to feel like, you're filling out your boots, which you are, you should be confident, but don't let your ego get too big. You have to always remember that you're still a human being. You're still a person. And regardless of what this person done or, the crime that they committed, you still need to treat them with respect. Um, Up until the point to where that's no longer acceptable. All right. You have to obviously put officer safety ahead of that. But don't let your ego get too big too fast. Remember that, not everybody's a bad person. Not everybody is trying to hurt you. All right.
I love that advice because a lot of times when people come out of the academy, they're kind of like on edge and they don't, they're like
yeah,
hyper vigilant.
hyper vigilant. Exactly. Which, it's remain vigilant at all times.
Yes.
Uh, don't go overboard about it. Not everybody's trying to hurt you. Sometimes it's just, somebody made a mistake. We're all human beings. We make mistakes. And sometimes you just have to sit back and remind yourself of that. If I had to give, a brand new person any advice, that'd be it, because I see a lot of that, the ego just blowing up. The badge gets heavy. They feel like, they're invincible almost. So just tone that down a little bit. You'll get there. Just tone that down a little bit.
All right. Now the person that's midway in their career, how do they keep from burning out and keep the flame going? For me, I think the advice is know that your job is not your identity and there will be something after because you'll be relatively young when you can retire. So there will be a world and a life after law enforcement. So just know that that's on the horizon.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. That's honestly, that I would kind of lump that into the new guy as well. This is not your identity. That's the big piece. That's the takeaway. as far as I'm concerned. The
It's a
uniform does,
career. It's a great career.
yeah,
It's a wonderful career. I love the men and women in uniform. I used to say blue, but not across the country. They're not all blue. Sometimes they're brown,
right.
sometimes they're gray, but they're all different men and women in uniform, and I love them all, but some have to tone down the this is who I am mentality. Like you said, some have to just tone that down a little bit because there is a life after law enforcement. And once you're retired, people don't respect you the same as when you're in uniform.
Well, the bottom line is this, people don't necessarily care about what you did yesterday. People don't
Yep.
necessarily, they don't want to hear about all that. Okay. What they care about is what's happening right now.
Yep.
Um, and right now you might not be wearing that uniform. So you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. All right. You need to be able to operate without, without that uniform on, without the gun, without the badge. All right. You need to be able to operate as a person.
That is
So
a great mentality because I ran into a guy that I arrested 10 years prior. He remembered me. I didn't remember him. A guy in the gym, I ran into him and he's like, "You used to lock me up back in the day." He's like, "You were a cop in this community unit." And and I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Well, was I good to you?" I'm like, "Was I
that,
cool?" I was like, "Was I cool or was I a jerk?" He's like, "Oh no, no, you were cool. You were cool." So I already knew the answer that he was gonna give, but
yeah.
I always ask people like, well, was I good to you or was it justified? And they're like, no, no, we're good, we're good. So that guy, I asked him if he turned his life around, and he said yes. He basically lied straight to my face, and then I
Oh,
found out that he got arrested by the DEA like a week after our conversation.
it's kind of ironic too, because when you do this job for so long, you'll run into the same people over and over, and they're at different phases of their life, as are you.
Yep.
Um, but a lot of time, and I don't know what it is, but it's that false sense of, they just want to always tell you that they're doing good. They got, they're doing
Yep.
right. They turn around, and even though you might already know, like that's not the truth, but you want to be there and be supportive. Um, Leads me to another time I ran into an inmate that I had previously supervised. I've used force on him. I maced him. I mean, we had our differences. Um, I was walking into the gas station at the start of my shift. I'm sorry, I was walking out. He was walking in. Um, I noticed him hold the door for me, and as I'm approaching him, I'm like, "This guy looks familiar."
Uh-huh.
As soon as we cross paths, he looks at me and he says, "Mo." That's what everybody called me in there. They called me Mo.
Uh-huh.
Uh, he's like, "Mo, is that you? You became a cop?" Like he couldn't believe it. I was like, "Yeah, man." And I knew him. I called him by name. I said, "How are you?" And we stood there and we just chopped it up in the little entranceway of the gas station for probably about 10 minutes. Um, he lived up north. He had moved down south to where I was at. But same thing. He was telling me that he was doing great. He turned his life around, and he looked good. So I believe him. He looked good. But what I like to do in those situations is I like to take the time to really talk to them, offer them advice, mentor them, things like that, kind of help them succeed and maybe see different perspectives. Because it's a different perspective on the outside than it is on the inside, even at the way you just look at everyday life. But, instead of trying to fight me or give me a hard time, I mean, we shook hands, we stood there and we talked. And, I think that goes a long way, is to just remember that people are people, and don't let this job be your identity.
I think the same thing goes to the people that are just about to retire, to the people that are transitioning.
Yeah.
I'm big on coaching and mentoring, and I say everyone that has 20 plus years, that's the line of work that they need to be going into. And I just I gotta cut this a little short. We may do part two to get the update
Yeah.
someday in the future for your next, the next phase of your life. But I want to thank you for all of the years of service that you've been in the military, you've been in corrections, you've been in law enforcement for over a decade now, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to give you your roses publicly and say thank you for all of the work that you do. you are appreciated at least by me and at least by my audience. So thank you, Mark. I appreciate you coming on. And if you have any final closing words, I got 1 minute.
Well, brother, that's my pleasure. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't have done anything differently in my life up to this point. I've learned a lot of things, and I agree. I think coaching and mentoring is huge. If you feel like you have something to offer, you do. And if you can make a difference, I believe you must make a difference. So whether
That's
you
the
believe it,
quote. That's the quote right there.
yeah. If you think otherwise, then you're kidding yourself. I believe that everybody's a mentor. Somebody is always looking at you for guidance. Somebody's always looking at you to see how things are supposed to be done or how they're not supposed to be done. We want to make sure that we're setting that positive example. I'm actually, I know we're going to cut it short, but a lot of the things that have led me to where I'm at in life, decisions that I've made, overcame certain obstacles and things like that, will be talked about in a book I'm writing right now. And it'll be out by the end of the year. So I look forward to an adventure. It's a journey, it's a different road I'm on, but
when that book is out, we're going to promote it together. All right.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate that. Look forward to it.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sir. Yep. Have a good day now. Be safe.
You too. I'll shoot you a text.
Having me on.
All right, family. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Everyone I interview, I've chosen for you guys because of their story, and I hope that you get some value every single time. If you did get value or just simply enjoyed the episode, please share the episode with someone that you know. If you know of a guest, a frontline hero that has an amazing story, something uplifting or a positive message, hit me up in the contact form of www.davidleith.com or DM me at Instagram at davidleith1. Subscribe to the show because I have some really phenomenal guests coming up in the next few weeks that you definitely don't want to miss. All right, 1.